Good morning. So excited to see all of you here today. That was the wonderful Mr. Michael Stevenson. He is our coordinator for our music program here at Pitt Community College. And he always has something just so wonderful for us to kind of set the tone. And we thank him. He is also a member of our MAC subcommittee. So, good morning, everyone. I am Regina Garcia, and I am chair of the Multicultural Activities Committee. We call ourselves the Mighty Mac. Well, maybe I just say that, but we're the Mighty Mac. And I am a member also of this MLK Scholarship Tribute Subcommittee. On behalf of the MAC, we are excited to see you here today, fresh-faced and in the Zoom room. I know we might miss the gathering and the sausage biscuits and things like that, but we're so happy to see you here today. On behalf of the MAC, I would like to express our collective joy at having you to join us in a celebration of service through scholarship, as well as the recognition of this great American drum major for justice and equality, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. I want to, as is the MAC way, start us off with a poetic reflection of the spirit that drives this endeavor. The late Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. In this, we desire that you consider the composition of the man and the ways in which we might ensure his legacy lives into perpetuity, for memories, unredacted, do fade, and thus sometimes harmful cycles begin again. Everyday altars. Every day we stand before an altar of possibility, a table that stretches long and presents endlessly. It waits to see what we will offer. Will it be enough? Will it make a difference? Or will it make our lives tough? We, the collective, us. Every day we stand or sit, every day our eyes open, every day that we live and be whatever we've been made to be, we have this opportunity that offers small semblances of salvation. And these small semblances can join to move this nation, to move this world. Every day that we stand, sit, or lie before this altar, sometimes before our feet can even hit the floor, we have this opportunity to give a heart sacrifice, the kind that says, I don't know it all, but I want to, and I need to know more. Does what I do only help me, or does it serve to help larger humanity, even those perhaps too disillusioned to see any way out of broken circumstances and atrocities? Every day, we have a chance to do for others what we cannot see. Today, we celebrate a man, mortal, like we. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. put his heart on the altar and made his offering matter for you and for me. And if we listen closely, we can hear what he said, made his work match his words in the face of evil thought and dread. On justice, Dr. King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. On equality, Reverend Dr. King said, a dream of equality, of opportunity, of privilege and property widely distributed. A dream of a land where men will not take necessities from the many to give luxuries to the few. On disparity, Reverend Dr. King said, of all the forms of inequality, injustice in health is the most shocking and the most inhuman because it often results in physical death. On service, Reverend Dr. King said, everybody can be great because everybody can serve. On positive change, Reverend Dr. King said, change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. On love and hate, Reverend Dr. King said, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And just towards the very end of his days, as he considered his days, Dr. King said, like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. So as we occupy this space, a space flooded with goodwill and grace, we must remember to take the words that we put on the altar and spread our works all over the place. Walk people into better living wherever they may be, putting on the altar not only what we want to see, that when we look down from our mountaintops, we see not the shattered and fearful, but the free, built from the altars, everyday altars of the collective we. Amen. And so now, we're excited to bring forward some extraordinary people, faces that we look forward to gracing us every year. We will first hear from our very own Marianne Cox, Vice President of Institutional Advancement, to bring greetings on behalf of Pitt Community College. We welcome you, Vice President Cox.
Thank you, Regina. I think everyone would agree what a beautiful tribute and way to begin our program today. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Good morning, everyone. I think that it's so interesting that we're celebrating this year's Martin Luther King Jr. tribute virtually. I know we've all gotten used to celebrating things and being on Zoom and WebEx and all of these things virtually. But we have technology today that allows practically anyone, anywhere, to have a platform in which to share their thoughts instantaneously around the world. And that technology didn't exist in Martin Luther King Jr.'s day, yet his message was so powerful and true that it rang, as we know these words, from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, the mighty mountains of New York, the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, and the curvaceous slopes of California. Nearly 54 years after his tragic death in Memphis, Dr. King's message still rings from Stone Mountain of Georgia, Lookout Mountain of Tennessee, and from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. On behalf of Dr. Rouse and Pitt Community College, I would like to welcome our Board of Trustee members. I see several of you out there this morning. Our Pitt Community College Foundation Board members, thank you for being here. Our elected officials, members of our community, and each of you to this special tribute. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Cox, for that heartfelt welcome. Now, everybody knows how excited we are to hear from our elected officials. And we have two among us today who will come and share greetings. So when I was growing up, I used to hear the elders say, "It's a poor frog that won't praise his own pond." I don't know if anybody else heard that, but I did. So we will start in the pond in which we physically reside with Winterville, North Carolina. And we are excited to bring forward the newly elected mayor, first African-American mayor of Winterville, North Carolina, Mayor Ricky Hines. He is with us today, and we are happy to have him here to bring greetings from Winterville, North Carolina. Come on down, Mayor Hines.
Good morning, and thank you, Ms. Regina. On the behalf of the town of Winterville and the citizens of Winterville, I bring greetings to you. It is an honor to be a part of this program honoring Dr. King. I know that this program will resonate Dr. King's message of hope, compassion, and positive change. Thank you, Dr. Rouse and PCC and the MAC committee for your commitment to Dr. King's legacy. And again, thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor Hines. Next, we would like to call forward, and lest he thinks we're indicating he's least, we're not. We just know that he's come from the great metropolis of Greenville, North Carolina, and had to get settled. So we're calling forward now the mayor from the shining Emerald City of Greenville, North Carolina. And we always look forward to hearing what Mayor Connolly has to say. Our scholarship breakfast. And so, Mayor Conley, while we don't have any eggs and grits for you today, we thank you for coming to see us on behalf of Greenville, North Carolina. Mayor Conley, come on down.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Regina. I appreciate it. And thank you to Mayor Hines for letting me virtually be in your city today. You're welcome in Greenville anytime, Mayor Hines, and I look forward to establishing a great partnership with you over the years. Good morning, everybody. On behalf of the City of Greenville, the Greenville City Council, and the Mayor's Office, I'm pleased to be here with you this morning and bring greetings for this annual event that honors the legacy of one of America's greatest civil rights leaders and recognizes students who are achieving excellence. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was an advocate of unity and equality. He aimed to bring people together despite their differences with regards to background, appearance, or beliefs. In today's world, with an ongoing pandemic, which has made it difficult for us to be together in person as much as we would like to, events like this, although virtually, go a long way towards bringing us closer despite the challenging circumstances. Also, with such a politically charged environment around us nowadays, we could all benefit from the lessons of Dr. King and recognize that the sooner that we learn to live together, the better this world will be. As mayor of the city of Greenville, I can assure you that I will continue to work with the city council and the city staff to make our community one that will make Dr. King proud. Pitt Community College is doing that today with this event, and we're thankful for that. And thank you for the opportunity to be a part of it.
Thank you, Mayor Conley. And we thank both of our mayors so much for their willingness to join us here today. We would also like to ask that any elected officials here today that we may not actually see, we'd like to ask you to put your name and your position in the chat box, and we'll acknowledge you at the end of the program. We are grateful for your presence as well. I do just want to take a small point of privilege right now to acknowledge the importance of our civic organizations and our service organizations in our community. And so when we think about Dr. King, we think about how he operated through organizations to exact change within society as well. And so we're familiar with organizations such as the NAACP and SCLC and the League of Women Voters. There are so many. But there is one grouping of organizations that I do want to mention today, and that is the Divine Nine, and they are the African-American originated sororities and fraternities that you may have heard about on college campuses and still work in the community. Dr. King himself was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and I know that all the alphas in the room want to shout out a big 06 right now, and so we want to acknowledge that. But also today, I do want to just make a special note that today is the Founders Day of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. I see Ms. Danielle has unmuted and put up her pyramid. They are celebrating their Founders Day on today, and there are many others who walk the halls of Pitt Community College and just do and work, provide that service wherever they are. So Delta Sigma Theta, happy birthday. J15 is coming, AKAs, don't worry. Okay, all right. So now we will have our guiding light and inspiration for this event. The originator of this vision for this program, our MLK subcommittee chair and vice president of student support, Mr. Jasmine Spain, to come on down and introduce our speaker. Mr. Spain, we're ready for you.
All right. Thank you, Sister Garcia. Thank you. Thank you. And good morning, Bulldog community. And it's with great pleasure that I have the opportunity to introduce this morning's speaker, Mayor of Ahoskie, Weyling White. Mayor White was born and raised in Ahoskie, North Carolina, where on December 10th, 2019, at the age of 33 years old, he was sworn in as the first African-American mayor for the town of Ahoskie. Mayor White graduated from Winston-Salem State University and received his BS in exercise science, and where he will also become a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. He obtained his MBA in healthcare management from the University of Phoenix and is a class 25 graduate of the Rural Economic Development Institute with the North Carolina Rural Center, and is a class 26 graduate of Leadership North Carolina. After graduation, he returned home to Ahoskie with a mission to give back and to use his talents for the betterment of his community. He joined the Roanoke Chowan Community Health Center in 2013, and his work in health as the director of Hertford County Health Access has helped numerous uninsured residents living in Hertford and Bertie counties in order to help them receive free or discounted health care services. In his role, he founded the TRIP Transportation Program, which has provided patients with free rides to medical appointments and other resources. He served on the board of directors for CareShare Health Alliance, where he now is currently the executive director, whose mission is collaborating for health equity. Mayor White is appointed to the North Carolina Institute of Medicine, the Roanoke Public Transportation Authority Board of Directors, the Vaccine Advisory Committee for North Carolina Division of Human Health Services, Advisory Council member of the Kate B. Reynolds Charitable Trust, and he currently is the chair of the Hertford Health Maintenance Alliance, which is a community collaborative in Hertford County that helps as an incubator for health. Mayor White has also been nationally recognized in 2017 as the emerging leader in healthcare transformation by the communities joined in action, and has recently been selected as a Bernstein Health Leadership Fellow. Along with healthcare, Mayor White has also addressed violent crime by identifying preventive measures and identifying opportunities for the youth there in Ahoskie, which includes him establishing a local youth center, as well as developing Ahoskie's first youth advisory council, working with local partners in the community to provide mentorship opportunities. Mayor White is a lifelong member of Calvary Missionary Baptist Church in Ahoskie, and his greatest accomplishment is being the father of his 3 children, Christian, Savannah, and Johan. I present to you all this morning today's speaker, a community activist, a champion for healthcare equity, and as for me personally, a brother in a deeper sense that others can comprehend in our sharing of the Black and Old Gold. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor of Ahoskie, Mr. Weyling White.
Hello, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here with you all virtually this morning. I bring you greetings on behalf of the town of Ahoskie, and I want to thank Pitt Community College and my good brother, Jasmine Spain, for this wonderful opportunity. Happy Founders Day to the Delta Sigma Theta. I hope you all have a great Founders Day. This is a special occasion as we give honor to the legacy of the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King has been instrumental in shaping me into the man that I am today. One of my favorite quotes from Dr. King is, which was said earlier, of all the forms of inequality, injustice in healthcare is the most shocking and inhumane. My passion is being a true advocate of health and racial equity, and we cannot achieve health equity without first identifying and addressing racial equity. As it has been stated before, I grew up in Ahoskie, and I've seen the good, the bad, and ugly of my community up front and close. Now, in Ahoskie, we pride ourselves on being the only one, and yes, we are 100% serious because that's our motto too. If you don't believe me, you can just Google Ahoskie. That's our motto, seriously. You will not find another Ahoskie anywhere, and while this makes us unique, many of our conditions are no different from other communities east of I-95. Toxic stress, poverty, redlining, healthy food access, transportation, safe and affordable housing, violent crime, lack of jobs. These are all drivers and determinants of health that has directly impacted our quality and life expectancy of historically marginalized populations in some of our Eastern North Carolina communities. Growing up in the small town of Ahoskie, I lived with my grandmother. She still stays on Lloyd Street, which is 2 streets over from what we used to refer as the corner in the early 90s. And in the 2000s, it would be known as the block. I lived there with my grandmother in the early 80s and in the late 80s, and early 90s, where drugs was plaguing much of America, especially in the Black and brown neighborhoods. While living in close proximity to this area, labeled as the corner, I had my fair share of bad experiences, including I had my bikes and my toys stolen multiple times, seeing police chases, fights, arrests, and even receiving news of people losing their lives from gun violence. I was around much of this while having a mother that was strict, and she wouldn't let me step one street over into this treacherous territory, but I was able to still have some of those effects and experiences being in that close proximity. I would later learn at a much older age that these experiences I had, while they were mild compared to other youth my age that had permission to go into the block, or even worse, that may have seen some of these things in their own home, we all were experiencing adverse childhood experiences known as ACEs. ACEs has an impact on children throughout the rest of their lives. Some people with high ACE scores can also be linked to early death. Studies have found that the risk of chronic illness such as heart disease, lung disease, and cancer was greater for people with these high ACE scores. Many studies show that your zip code can determine your health outcomes and life expectancy. And in this case, it came down simply to the street that I lived on in Ahoskie. As I said earlier, I live with my grandmother, and we also share the same birthday, so we have a special connection. And my grandmother is a wonderful cook, and due to some of her good cooking, she was coined the nickname Biscuit. So if anybody that's from Ahoskie on this call, please do not let her know that I let y'all know her nickname. She might not let me back into her home. So we're going to keep that between us on this call, okay? But I would enjoy eating meals that included fried chicken, chitterlings, collard greens, cornbread, and many other dishes that we all know is good old Southern soul food. But during slavery, African people were given small portions that were low in quality and nutritional value. So with these small portions, people preserved African food traditions and adapted traditional recipes with the resources they had available. Over time, these recipes became common in the soul food dishes that we are familiar with today. This food we now love was born out of struggle and survival. Pork has been the choice of meat here in the South, and I'm willing to bet that everyone on this call has tasted some good Eastern North Carolina barbecue, especially a lot of you all in Pitt County. And during the African slave trade, it was slaves who frequently were given the grueling task of preserving the meat from the pigs. As a result, many of the techniques in curing meat are said to have been developed by African Americans of that era. The cheapest, least desired cuts of pork, such as the head, the ribs, the feet, the internal organs, were reserved for slaves' weekly food rations. And as would be expected, the taste of these meats was not so much the best. So to mask the poor flavor of the meat, enslaved people drew from their traditional African cooking and used different variations of seasonings on their meat. So that's where a mixture of hot red peppers and vinegar was very common, and this flavoring has served as the base of many different barbecues that are still used in the South to this day. Now, too much of the salt and sugar without exercise can most likely lead to diabetes and high blood pressure, as I've battled with personally, as well as much of my family. I would later learn that in a later age, our family tradition and culture has been detrimental to the health of my family. My family has now opted for more healthier leafy greens, baked chicken, and more fish and turkey in our diet. Now, we were blessed to have transportation to safely travel to these grocery stores or markets where we can access healthy foods. However, that's not the case for everyone. Lack of transportation affects the ability to not only have a good diet, access medications, exercise, but most importantly, able to attend doctor appointments. I now live across the train tracks where years ago, when my grandfather was at my age, the age I am right now, he could only be seen in my neighborhood if he was cutting grass, doing plumbing, or performing a service, and he had to be back across the tracks before sundown. From my home right now, I'm in walking distance to my doctor, my daughter's school, my gym, a local food market, our police station, 2 pharmacies, our local hospital, 3 parks, and also our town hall. However, just across the train tracks, almost none of these resources are able to be accessed in walking distance for some. Just like Ahoskie, many cities across America were intentionally segregated by man-made lines such as railroads or highways that were put in to systematically segregate white and Black neighborhoods and physically isolate Black people from important resources, while also imposing a lower property tax value affecting generational wealth. See, my grandmother, she's a strong woman, and during some of my hardest moments, even to this day, I use her as inspiration to get through. But being strong has not always been a good thing for Black women in America. There was a doctor by the name of James Marion Sims who created the vaginal speculum used by gynecologists to this day. And he became known as the father of modern gynecology. He was able to achieve this fame and notoriety by performing excruciating experimental surgeries on enslaved Black women. Infant mortality is a major issue among Black women in our area, and with maternal mortality, Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die in connection with birth than white women. This is one of the aspects that shows the vast reality of institutional racism in medicine. Some studies have shown that people of color tend to receive a lower quality of care than others despite their health insurance coverage. Back in the early 1800s, doctors were called in by slave owners to protect their investments. In 1807, Congress abolished the importation of slaves and forced Black women to have more children and actually breed slaves. Women who could bear more children were more profitable. In the 1830s, doctors performed experimental C-sections and ovarian removals on slaves. Between the years of 1845 and 1849, James Sims performed over 30 operations on just one of his slaves, and even forced other slaves to constrain and hold down this young woman, and also chose not to provide anesthesia, even when it was introduced and available in 1846. Dr. Sims had a very detrimental belief that will live on for generations and haunt Black people in medicine for many years to come, which is the belief that Black people do not feel pain or anxiety. Studies have shown that Black people are less likely to be tested for or to be treated for pain, especially in the emergency room. Some nurse textbooks in the past have even included racist stereotypes that Black people report a higher pain intensity than others. These practices and ethics can be seen in other aspects of childbearing among Black women, and in some places, sterilization was forced upon Black women. In the Black community, there has been much hesitation around the vaccine due to the mistrust of the medical community when it comes to the health of people of color, and Tuskegee and Dr. Sims are examples of why this mistrust exists. Now, I'm speaking from someone that is fully vaccinated and I received my booster. I will say that when it comes to COVID-19, no matter where your beliefs lie, we all have a responsibility to do our part to ensure the safety of ourselves and those around us. One of my most favorite activities to do with my grandmother is just to chill. We just sit beside each other, watch CNN, and take in the daily news. We talk politics, weather, and even sports because we both love basketball. However, in 2020, our favorite time together became one of the hardest to endure. While quarantining, we both watched it as America was flipped upside down due to racial discrimination and the killings of unarmed Black and brown people by law enforcement. We are very, very grateful and fortunate to have a wonderful police force here in Ahoskie with some of the most bravest men and women. However, this news was still traumatizing. I can honestly say that seeing these traumatic events unfold on national television and just navigating life in the pandemic took its toll on my mental health. I encourage everyone to seek counseling, and mental health services is needed for every Black male that made it through the catastrophe that we know as the year 2020. It reminded many of us that although it was different times then when Dr. King was making many of his speeches, many things did change. However, many things in America still remain the same. I would say that in health, finally, things are changing. We now have Medicaid transformation in North Carolina that will launch the Healthy Opportunity Pilots throughout 3 regions in North Carolina to address many of the barriers that we've spoken about today. One of these regions selected includes Pitt County and also my county of Hertford. I have been blessed to be able to do some of this work prior in my community, working at Ronald Chuan Community Health Center. In 2013, I was afforded the opportunity to develop and coordinate the Hereford Health Access Program, which has transformed and now lives at Vidant Health there in Greenville. Through this program, we were able to link hundreds of patients to free medical care that was donated by a network of participating doctors and specialists. Access to care has been very troubling for individuals that fall into what we call the coverage gap. This is where people that cannot afford health insurance but do not qualify for Medicaid are left uninsured. Patients enrolled in our program, and they no longer had to skip their medical appointments simply because they cannot have the ability to pay. In 2017, my Hereford Health Access team and I, we developed the TRIP transportation program, where we formed a partnership between our local health center, hospital, and local transportation companies to transport community residents up to 200 miles from their home address for free of charge. People that could not get to the gym, where they were finally able to get the exercise that they desired and become more fit. Many cancer patients are now able to get chemo and radiation services, and residents can now safely access services from our local food banks, farmers markets, grocery stores, and also stop by a local pharmacy to pick up their medications on the way home. We've not only been able to save lives, but we've also saved the local health system over $700,000 in healthcare costs over 5 years. 25 years after my experiences I talked about a little earlier as a youth growing up on Lower Street, as mayor of Ahoskie, I was able to partner with the business called Enviva and our local Walmart, and we provided over 300 turkeys to the community residents. We did this in the same area of the block, the corner that I was forbidden by my mother to go to 25 years ago. Knowing that transportation is a barrier on that side of the tracks for many, we were able to provide free food for people that was able to just simply walk up or even travel up on bikes and receive their free Thanksgiving meal. During the beginning of the pandemic, food was a huge need and still is, and we was able to partner with some of our local churches in the community, our local women's club, the community health center, and we were able to provide free masks, gloves, hand sanitizers, along with free grocery boxes to local residents. In December of 2020, the local crime rate in Hereford County was 3.76. At the end of 2021, that number fell to 3.03, which is now below the national average of 3.62. I will not be silent about violent crime and will always continue to encourage positivity and love among our community. Our Children Matter campaign is underway, and we are committed to providing ways for our youth to grow and get involved in the community. Again, Ahoskie is no different than any other community here in Eastern North Carolina. To make a difference in our community, we first have to take care of ourselves, as mental health is key to our well-being. But collaboration, peace, equity, these are all keys to moving our communities forward. Dr. King said in his most famous speech, Negro community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people. For many of our white brothers have come to realize that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone. I believe in true collaboration and partnership to bring a healthy change to my community, no matter the side of the aisle. And I believe that we can all work together to bring sustainable change and achieve true racial and health equity in our communities. You don't have to be a mayor, a millionaire, an activist to bring change awareness to your community. All you need is hope. As I close, I will leave you all with a final quote from Dr. King, which just simply states, "Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children." Everyone, this is our time. I want to thank all of you so much for your time today. Thank you.
I'm sure if we all could clap, we would be clapping right now. Oh my goodness. That was so wonderful, so powerful, very timely as we are going through what we're going through here, but just that reflection on, how perhaps we have come to make some of the choices that we make in regards to our health based on our history. And so we thank you, Mayor White, for gracing us with your presence. I cannot hand you what I would like to hand you through the Zoom screen, but know that it's coming. And we just want to thank you so much for being here. So everybody, let's give Mayor White that virtual hand. Thank you again so much. Now we're at the point in our program where we get to celebrate scholarship. And I'd like to call forward I say she's the one that keeps me together. She keeps us all together on the MAC committee, and that is Ms. Jane Power. She is the Director of Marketing for Pitt Community College, and she organizes us so that we can choose our scholarship recipient. And so Miss Jane, if you would please come on down and give your comments. Introduce our recipient.
Thank you, Regina. We appreciate you heading this event up as well. Thank you so much for your leadership. Good morning, everyone. The MAC Scholarship was established by our MAC committee 9 years ago. And the funding for this scholarship began with the first MLK tribute breakfast. And although we were unable again this year to have our annual breakfast event in order to raise funds for next year's MAC Scholarship, we ask that instead you take time to go to the PCC Foundation website to the MLK Junior Tribute event and donate to this particular scholarship, or you can click on the link in the chat box that Regina posted at the very top of the chat box and make a donation. So instead of paying for your $10 breakfast, we ask that you contribute what you feel you can so that we can keep this scholarship going. Another quote by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He gave a sermon on humility and gratitude in which he said, "We never get anywhere in this world without the force of history and individual persons in the background helping us to get there." I feel this statement summarizes the vision and the mission of the MAC Scholarship. This year, our MAC Scholarship will be presented in honor of Dr. Paul R.G. Cunningham. Dr. Cunningham was Dean and the Senior Associate Vice Chancellor for Medical Affairs at the Brody School of Medicine at East Carolina University, where he served between September of 2008 and September 2016. Prior to joining the Brody School of Medicine, Dr. Cunningham was the professor and chair of the Department of Surgery at the State University of New York, Upstate Medical University, from April 2002 until August 2008. Board certified in general surgery, Dr. Cunningham is a graduate of the University of West Indies, where he received his Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery degree in 1972. He completed his residency in surgery at the Mount Sinai School of Medicine, New York City in 1979. As a 47-year veteran of the medical profession, as well as an educator and a surgeon, Dr. Cunningham is a champion for the concept of preserving professional leadership in medicine and a proponent of utilizing innovations in computer technologies for the benefit of patient care. Dr. Cunningham is especially interested in the mentoring and career development of minority students in all specialties. He and his wife, Sydney, reside in Eastern North Carolina and are blessed with 6 grandchildren. Welcome, Dr. Cunningham. Emily, do we have Dr. Cunningham?
I'm here. Thank you. Perhaps I should say a few things at this point, if that's appropriate. So again, I thank you very much. I have to thank President Rouse, although I don't see him on the Zoom meeting. Vice President Cox, Mr. Jasmine Spain, Ms. Jane Powell, and Professor Garcia for this very kind invitation and for the inspiration this morning. For all that has been said, I consider myself Chief Dog Walker, Ramsland, North Carolina, at this point in my retirement. So good morning. This tribute is a real honor for me. I can't think of a better way to celebrate the life of Martin Luther King Jr. than with this 10th annual MLK Junior Scholarship Tribute. Thank you, Mayor Weyling White, for your words of inspiration and your success. From Hertford and Bertie counties, and indeed all of Eastern North Carolina. I consider this my home. You may not recognize that, but this is my home. As far as I'm concerned, your message could not be more meaningful, relevant, and suitable for the times we are experiencing. Two things seem to signal individual success: good health, and as a close second, education. I also want to offer my congratulations to the recipient of the 2022 PCC Multicultural Activities Committee Scholarship, prospective PCC nursing student, Alvaro Ramirez Serafin. It is a true honor for me to be associated with this scholarship and for their continued success. I understand that the Pitt Community College Foundation provides scholarship funding for more than 500 deserving students each year. And I would like to offer my encouragement to as many as can offer their own personal support. I most certainly intend to offer mine. My hope is that in support of the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., the scholarship money raised today will propel today's imperative of promoting education. And I'm wishing all the very best of health for 2022 and beyond. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dr. Cunningham, for your remarks and for your support of this scholarship. We appreciate all of your contributions to our community over the years. This year, we are awarding our 2022 MAC Scholarship to Alvaro Ramirez Serafin. Alvaro and his family came to the United States from Mexico when he was only 5 years old. He learned English on his own and had the responsibility of translating for his parents. His parents have been a great influence on his life, and he understands the sacrifice that they have made for him. He has a part-time job now and enjoys translating for customers when needed. He also knows that language barriers exist in healthcare. So Alvaro has decided to become a nurse and to specifically help those who don't speak English navigate the healthcare system. At the end of Alvaro's interview, we gave him the opportunity to ask us any questions that he may have. His only question was, what would be our perfect candidate? And after he speaks to you, I think you will know the answer to that question. I now present to you Alvaro Ramirez Serafin.
Greetings, everyone. I just want to say thank you to Dr. Cunningham and everyone that came before me. I'm very inspired by the words and really knowing that there are good people out there that are looking for the best in the generations to come. Well, again, my name is Alvaro Ramirez, and I'm so honored to be in this position in front of y'all this morning. I'm originally from Tepic, Nayarit, Mexico, and moved to North Carolina when I was only 5 years old. I've done all my schooling in the city, to this point, and I'm currently in my second year at Pitt Community College, taking my last couple classes before I apply into the nursing program. When I was growing up, I found that finding family, even outside of my own biological family, it was very important in helping me navigate through my environment. I often found people who actually became my family in different times and areas in my life. Every day I come across so many cultures that this beautiful country has to offer, and I've always been very curious to figure out those unique features that distinguish each culture in America. I truly value the opportunity this country gives us to be able to connect and enjoy each other's cultures. Because I enjoy discovering these cultures so much, it begins to affect me in my job in customer service. I get to meet people all over the world that motivate me to help them as much as I can in my workplace. It also has led me, growing up, meeting all of these different people, also led me to get involved in my local church, serving as a worship leader since I was about 14 years old. This brings me to speak about some of the dreams that I have for my future. Some of the dreams include becoming a travel nurse and even begin to expand even further on what multiculturalism means to me. I also hope to let myself be financially worry-free to be able to begin to see what multiculturalism means to me outside of the U.S. one day, hopefully. And lastly, I would also want to be able to free people from the pain life could bring sometimes and continue to promote peace, prosperity, and nonviolence, just like Martin Luther King Jr. did in the 1950s and 1960s. As a kid, that by the grace of God, I grew up in an American school. I would always admire the pioneers that came before us, such as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and one of my absolute favorites that I cannot leave without saying, Harriet Tubman. Dr. Luther King Jr. is a great example to all of us how we should live our lives and live in harmony with each other. One of my favorite quotes from him is that darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Well, it has been an absolute honor and pleasure to speak in front of you all, and I want to also thank the committee from the bottom of my heart and remind you of how your compassion and kindness has greatly impacted my life. My name is Alvaro Ramirez Serafin, and may God bless you all.
Thank you, Alvaro, and congratulations to you. We look forward to seeing you achieve your dreams at PCC and in the future. And I hope all in attendance here on this meeting now understand why we were so pleased to offer Alvaro this scholarship. Now I would like to turn it over to Cherie White, Developmental and Curriculum English Instructor at PCC and member of the MAC Committee and the Scholarship Selection Committee, for closing remarks. Cherie?
Greetings, everyone, and thank you for attending our 10th annual Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. virtual tribute. Today's event has been an awesome occasion, and we would like to thank those who have made it possible. First, thank you to Dr. Lawrence Rouse, our esteemed college president, and the president's leadership team. Thank you to our elected officials who are in attendance. Thank you to our guest speaker, Mayor Weyling White, for the eye-opening and timely message on health and wellness, especially as it pertains to the African-American community. A celebratory thank you is given to MAC Scholarship Honoree, Dr. Paul Cunningham. We proudly thank the MAC Scholarship recipient, Mr. Alvaro Ramirez Serafin. Continue to strive for excellence in your academic and life journey. We will be proudly watching you soar. In addition, I would like to recognize a few groups who have made this work easier and this program move forward. First, the MAC 100 and above donors. They include Maine Initiative, LLC, Greenville Pitt Area Section of the National Council of Negro Women, Dr. Katrina Arnold, Mrs. Regina Garcia, Charles and Alana Pierce, Dr. and Mrs. Paul Cunningham, and myself. Secondly, I would like to introduce the PCC MLK Tribute Committee and MAC Scholarship Awards Committee members. They include Mr. Jasmine Spain, Mrs. Regina Garcia, Mrs. Jane Power, Mr. Michael Stevenson, Ms. Erin Harvey, and myself, Sharif White. Finally, as I traditionally do, I would like to remind and challenge all of you to remember the work of Dr. King by continuing his dream. So on Monday, January 17th, the day that the nation observes MLK Day, I invite each of you to make this a day on and not a day off. Simply put, serve someone somewhere. Thank you and have a great day.